Hi everyone, and welcome back to Windrider Farm. Although our farm is still covered in snow, like many of you, we're making plans for this year's gardens, and I wanted to show you some of the new varieties we'll be growing and the changes we'll be making. It's sometimes hard to remember when our gardens are covered in snow that in just 4 months they'll look like this again, but the seed catalogs are arriving every day in our mailbox and reminding us the season will soon be here and it's time to make some plans. So this season, when everything is covered in snow and all that's left is the bones of our garden, is when we make plans not only for what we'll be growing, but any structural changes, like asking, do we need some more raised beds, and where do we have room to put them? And we're also looking at the trellis systems in our greenhouses and in the gardens and deciding if we want to build more or just use what we have to grow something different. It's the time when we're looking at the blank canvas that's our garden and deciding how do we want to paint the canvas this season? What crops do we want to grow more of? And which new varieties would we like to try? And do we want to try growing flowers amongst the vegetables this year? So we grow a lot of tomatoes, and last season we showed the new greenhouse we built and successfully germinated and potted up 300 tomato seedlings. We planted out many of them and also gave some away to friends, so this season we will probably be starting 300 tomato seedlings again, growing enough plants to fill this greenhouse again and also to fill 2 other greenhouses, like this one that we use primarily for growing tomatoes and this one that we use for both tomatoes and peppers. So in this greenhouse, we grew sun gold tomatoes. We always remove the plastic on this greenhouse during the summer, so they get a lot of direct sunlight. And also, sun gold tomatoes are an indeterminate type of tomato, and the plants grow 10 to 12 feet tall. They're very prolific and very sweet, but they're also one of the few tomatoes we're able to grow into November. So we will definitely be growing sun gold tomatoes again. Also, we'll be growing a few new tomatoes that we have sourced from Baker Creek. We like to try a few new varieties every year to plant in the gardens and greenhouses, and these are just a small sample of what we'll be growing. We find that we like the flavor of some of the darker tomatoes and are always looking for new varieties to try. We also grow a lot of peppers, both hot and sweet, and this is our main unheated pepper greenhouse. Because we grow peppers in an unheated greenhouse up until the first hard freeze, we need varieties that are not just prolific producers in the summer months, but also hardy enough to grow in the unheated greenhouses before they're killed by freezing temperatures. We're always looking for new varieties to see which ones can grow well in the extremely challenging growing conditions, but also are versatile and can be used in a variety of ways, for not only fresh eating and cooking, but also for preserving. So I have found seeds for some beautiful purple varieties of peppers that I would like to try this year. We've sourced the seeds from a few different seed companies, and we're excited to try them and see how they'll perform in our greenhouses and gardens. We also purchased more seeds of what we always grow, just to have a few extra seed packets in case we want to expand our growing area this year. We are considering building another greenhouse for growing peppers. We have built all of our greenhouses from cull lumber and scrap wood, so building another 12 by 14 foot greenhouse would only cost us about $300. We're also deciding what to grow in our trough and trellis system that we built last season. We built it next to our mulberry tree and grew several varieties of pole beans. We harvested beans continuously for about 3 months and will plant beans there again, but we would like to add a different variety of beans and perhaps add several other types of vining vegetables and fruits. It's a good location with plenty of sun, and anything we plant there should do well. So I purchased these purple pole beans to try, and I also purchased these melon seeds. They're very small melons that may do well on the trellis systems with some support. I also purchased some silver slicer cucumber seeds to try. We will be growing these on the trellis system and also in our greenhouses. When we remove or raise the plastic on our greenhouses in the hottest part of the summer, the cucumbers climb the sides and bring any pollinators in, not only to pollinate the cucumber plants, but also any of the plants that are growing inside. And lastly, we will be experimenting with new greens to grow in our raised beds. We usually grow lettuce and kale and some root crops, but this year we're growing some very interesting Asian greens. They should do well here and are highly nutritious. We will be recording a separate video to show all of you how our experiment turned out. And on a side note, we're starting to realize that no garden is really complete without some flowers. And although we have some hardy Luna hibiscus and Rose of Sharon planted in some areas of the garden and around one of the greenhouses, we're planning on adding more flowers this season, not only for their beauty, but also to attract more pollinators and offer them multiple food sources. So we've purchased some borage flower seeds and other types of flowers. The borage flowers are a wonderful flower, not just because they attract and support pollinators, but also because the flowers and leaves are edible. So although there is beauty to be found in this stark and frozen landscape this time of year, I feel a lot like my little hummingbird friend sitting on the garden fence looking around and watching and waiting for the bright spring and summer sun to fill the sky and warm the soil so we can finally put our hands in the sun-warmed earth and plant our seeds and grow our tomatoes and fill our greenhouses with pepper plants and welcome back our little friends. I hope in this time when all of you are making some plans for your garden that this video gave you some inspiration to try some new varieties in your garden this season.